everyone. I'm Cassidy Hubbard alongside Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins. We have Adrian Wojnarowski also joining us because the draft is not the only news going on in the NBA. As Woj, you broke the massive trade as Chris Paul was moved to the Warriors for Jordan Poole and picks. So let's just start this off right off the bat. Why did Golden State trade for Chris Paul?
Listen, this is partly a long-term play and a short-term play for the Warriors. Short-term, can Chris Paul come in at 39 years old in the playoffs next year and be a presence that can help maximize this Steph Curry championship window against the backdrop of a 24-year-old Jordan Poole who played in 82 games last season, scored nearly 25 points a game as a starter, but is starting a brand new 4-year, essentially $130 million contract at a time the Warriors have to start looking at trimming payroll to deal with the new luxury tax, the new collective bargaining agreement in place. And listen, this is certainly doesn't come without some risk. The Warriors had to incentivize that Jordan Poole contract, a 2030 protected first-round pick, a 2027 second-round pick to the Wizards. And listen, for Golden State, Chris Paul, who has been a nemesis, it's going to be interesting to see him in this Warrior locker room. But he was determined to play for a contender. To go from Phoenix to Washington is sort of a way station this week. But for Golden State, Mike Dunleavy Jr., their new general manager, they did today what you're going to see a lot of teams have to do with really big payrolls. That's make difficult financial decisions. The Celtics did it last night with Marcus Smart. And now Jordan Poole at 24 years old goes to a rebuilding Wizards team. And that $130 million plus, you had to send 2 draft picks with it.
And this was the last piece in the deal that sent Bradley Beal to the Suns this past weekend. Could you just put into perspective just how expansive this trade is?
So now the Wizards and Suns have finalized that Bradley Beal trade. I'm told 6 second-round picks from Phoenix to the Wizards. The Suns did not have any first-round picks that they could include in the trade because of the Kevin Durant trade. So 6 second-round picks, 4 pick swaps. And so, you look at Bradley Beal's contract, over $200 million over the next 4 years. Jordan Poole's contract, $130 million plus. What you are seeing are very productive, talented players, not commanding even what they would have a year ago in the trade market because of this new collective bargaining agreement and how teams have to start shaping their payrolls to be able to balance out their rosters and complement star players with more role players.
And Perk, now that we have all the parts of this trade, who do you feel wins it?
Oh, it's the Warriors, and it's not even close. And it's not about them acquiring Chris Paul. It's not about them freeing up money, getting off a Jordan Poole contract. It's about them actually the importance of Draymond Green, because there's no way in hell that you were going to be able to bring back Jordan Poole and Draymond Green in the same locker room. And I've said this time and time again, when outside of Steph Curry, Draymond Green is the most important person to that franchise. Steve Kerr said it himself. We're not a championship team without Draymond Green. So this trade right here showed that the Warriors intend, or they should, show Draymond Green how important he is to this franchise and that they have plans on re-signing him. Look, I'm not the great Woj, and I'm not trying to sit up here and report anything, but the writing is on the wall.
No, look. You're definitely not the great Woj. You're definitely not Woj.
Woj tell me that.
Are you spitting all over yourself? God, man. You got chicken fingers popping out all over you. Anyways, this is my thing about the Warriors, right? when you go back to when this whole thing first started for the Golden State Warriors, they had Jarrett Jack at point guard. And then what that allowed them to do is allowed Steph and Klay to be off the ball. So to bring Chris Paul in there and to have another playmaker, and if you look at over the course of their franchise, whether it's Andre Iguodala, Livingston, they've always had playmakers around their shooting. And so now, look, Jordan Poole was a great scorer. But let me just start with this. The NBA Players Association, this was a terrible, terrible deal that the Players Association signed. And what you're seeing now is that all of these players are having to move. You're having to see a bunch of things happen over the course of the NBA over the next 2 years to get under these first and second aprons. But when you got to give away a player like Jordan Poole, who's at the beginning of his, maturation process, and you have to incentivize teams to take a young 20-point-a-game scorer that has won a championship, and you have to incentivize teams to do that, that lets me know that we are just at the beginning of all of the changes that will happen over the next 2 years.
Listen, what the NBA wanted, what the league wanted, the owners wanted, was a spread out talent in this league, to have more markets where they are more competitive. And ultimately, listen, it's still a 51-49 split of revenue. This is a league now where, listen, you're going to be able to keep Draymond Green, Steph Curry, perhaps Klay Thompson, but having that fourth max level player, even the third max level player, you're going to see talent spread around the league. And I think one way to look at it, it's going to allow more players in this league to have a chance to be on teams who are competitive and have a chance to win.
Obviously a huge move in the new era under Mike Dunleavy Jr. Do you have any insight of what else he has to work on, especially when it pertains to Draymond Green?
Well, listen, the Warriors very much want Draymond Green back. They've made that very clear. He wants to be back. He, has been engaging with this organization. There certainly could be some sign and trade options out there. If the Warriors could get back a bunch of assets in a deal, there's no shortage of contenders who would love to have Draymond Green. But he is fastened to this organization, the relationships, the history. I think it means a lot for Draymond Green to be there, but this is a negotiation. And he's going to try to get the best deal he can, probably the last big deal of his career, where he is maybe not his last contract, but maybe his last big contract. So you're going to maximize that. But I think both the organization, Draymond Green, are motivated to get something done. I would still be surprised if they don't find a way.
And RJ, obviously the Warriors use their experience and their veteran leadership to capture another title last season. But how do you think a year later, 2 years later, veterans of Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, potentially Draymond Green, how do you think that fits to try to win a title next year?
Well, I think it fits perfectly. I obviously you're concerned about, you want Klay Thompson to be the healthiest version of himself. We know, look, Chris Paul's been in the league for 200 years, and for 200 years, you have seen issues in the postseason. But I think this is the first time he has been on a level where he is just a pure contributor. He's a pure contributor. He's a game manager. You're not going to ask him to defend, the best, one or two players on the other side. So when I look at this, Chris Paul's in a very good situation. We know that Steve Kerr does a great job of stringing out his players, allowing them to get rest, allowing them to do all the things that they need to do to be the best version of themselves late in the season. So I'm really excited about this Chris Paul journey. And Kuminga, he's another asset that if they can trade him and get some wing players, get some adults around that veteran crew, I think it'd be very, very valuable.
Yeah, there's some teams on the board tonight ahead of the Warriors who are curious about the value of maybe trying to bring on Jonathan Kuminga to trade out one of their picks. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but there certainly has been some teams who've had some conversations with the Warriors about that.
Woj, we've had 3 blockbuster trades before the draft. When was the last time that happened? It's been a minute before we have seen this much traction for us trades. So when I look at it, this is why I said about, a week ago or 2 weeks ago after the Nuggets won the NBA Finals, the way that the league is going, it's going to be hard for teams to repeat. It's going to be hard to build dynasties. And this is great for the league, right? We want the competition to be spread throughout. We want to see competitive What?
I just want teams to be able to re-sign the players that they draft. And I think even under this, if you draft well, I think it could, like, again, we remember OKC a few years ago. You see what's happening in Golden State. If you can keep your players that you draft.
What's really going to change is your ability to have high-priced veteran role players around your stars. The dynamic of teams, the shape of them, are going to look different. I think star players are going to have to recalibrate what their supporting casts look like. They may be younger and less expensive.
Okay.
I mean, as Perk pointed out, it's already been extremely busy for you, and you have a long night, as we'll see you on the draft broadcast at 8 Eastern on ESPN. And I got an eye right now in the corner of Scoot Henderson in quite an outfit. We're going to get to him after the break, as we are now expecting all the players to hit up the red carpet that's behind us. This is the red carpet special. We'll be sitting down with Scoot, Derek Lively, and some other players. We'll be